The success of a song is all in the idea. There's so many great songs and great music that are produced not great or mixed badly or mastered poorly. All that stuff matters, but the idea is the important part. So if you're spending hours and hours on a song like you're saying, well, you're probably not working on the idea. You probably had the idea, it got put down, and then you're just like fiddling with the small things.
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. My guest today is more than just cigarettes and beer. He is someone who has been chipping away at the minimal house scene for more than 4 years now, and he's done so by repetition. I first found ANATTA, much like I discover other artists these days, on social media. Yes, you don't want to hear that, but it does work. He's a really funny guy, but he's also extremely intelligent. He's an instructor with Kick and Bass, that's West End's community. West End was one of my first guests. And although he helps artists perfect their music, today we're talking all about rejecting perfection and getting in your reps, and how getting in your reps is the key to being the producer you've always dreamed of being. So if you're struggling with production right now, this is the episode for you. Enjoy. I'm really excited to talk to you because I want to find out if your bark is bigger than your bite, because you're one of the most sassy social media DJs out there. And I feel like that's probably how I originally found you, because your tweets are just so funny.
I don't know. I don't know. I just started being myself, and then it just caught just a little bit like asshole-ish, and it kind of started working. Yeah,
but like, I don't know. Is that actually you in real life? Because that's not the vibe that I'm getting.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a shit talker. Like, all my,
Yeah.
To my friends. Like, I'm not like mean to people.
Like a real asshole.
No, I'm not a real asshole.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I just kind of started. Well, you know what? I just adopted the mentality of like, if it comes to my brain, just send it out. Yeah,
that's what
put it there.
For.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why so many, like, Lucati has been on this show because of his Twitter. I mean, obviously great producer, but it brings so much attention. In a good way, if you do it right. Like, to actually be likable too. And I love that, because the show's all about branding. I love that cigarettes are part of your brand. Like, you've really solidified that in the ether. Like, ANATTA and cigarettes are synonymous. Walk me through how that happened.
I just went to Miami one time and started smoking again. I had quit for 3 years, and then I just started smoking again. And then, I don't know, it just like was in all my media. And then, like one time I was like making a decision of like, do I post this? Like, do I actually like put it out? And then I was like, yeah, I might as well. And, then it just caught.
It's just funny because like cigarettes like have been out, I feel like, in the United States.
Yeah.
So you're like helping bring them back.
I don't want to know. I don't want to help that. I'm not. No, I don't. I know it's not good. And like I don't smoke as much as it might seem.
Yeah.
Try not to smoke during the week, but sometimes I do.
Just like weekends for gigs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just when I like drink, and I try to like just pair it with alcohol, and those are the two vices. I don't do drugs, so like.
I love how I'm justifying this. You're like, no, it's like I just do it like this.
Yeah, it has like really become attached to my brand, which is funny because like as I've been trying to like, I know it's not good. I've been trying to like pull back.
Yeah.
But I'm very aware that it's like attached to the brand.
You've made something memorable in people's minds, and so whatever, just go with it. I was talking to Vinny about that as well, because like, you know, Freak On is his brand, and he's been kind of thinking about like, is this like the route I want to go forever?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely something to consider for DJs as a whole, not just with like little like quirky elements like that, but like names and stuff. It's got to be difficult to evolve as an artist in this industry when people come to know you for like one specific thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people, or like your audience, I would hope that, like, at least for me, like, the music is the driving force, right? Like, I hope it's not cigarettes, right? Like, I don't want people to like me because I smoke cigarettes.
Right.
That being said, though, like, certain things like that, I feel like that people can kind of latch onto and, you know, comment about and, like, talk about are good. But I don't think you have to commit to something forever. Like, you can change, and as long as you're just yourself, I feel like as long as I'm representing who I am, there's going to be something to latch onto. Right. So if I quit smoking, which I should and want to, like, there'll be something, something else. I don't know what it'll be. Like, you look at all, like, the successful brands. Ranger has, like, his bits, and like all across the board, everybody has, like, their things that people, like, latch onto. So I don't think it has to be like smoking cigarettes. Like, God, I hope it's not lifelong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like as long as you're being yourself, like, there'll be something that people can, like, latch onto.
Yeah, the authenticity, it's such a buzzword, but it's true. And it's like, you have to do something to get people in the door. And once they like you and trust you, then they can start to see the other elements of you and know that you're more than just a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So beyond that, we talked a few minutes before we started recording. You said you started your ANATTA project in 2020, and you have really skyrocketed since then, amassing millions of streams on your songs. You have so many monthly listeners. The number one question every artist, aspiring DJ asks me to ask my guests is, how the fuck did you do it? Like, what would you say was that ticket to building that momentum?
All right, so I can only tell my story because I wouldn't even give this advice, but I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, like, when I started the project. So I released a ton of music. I have like 72 songs out or something like that. And most of them didn't do great, like, 5, 10,000, whatever. And then I just had one that just kind of popped, and there was no, like, I didn't put more money behind it. It was nothing. Tobacco Docs, like, popped off, and
On brand.
Yeah. yeah, I guess it kind of did tie into the brand. But yeah, that song, like, popped off, and, like, looking at the stats and everything about the song it's all just algorithmic on every platform. It's not like I didn't go to, like, a marketing agency, didn't run ads on it, like, which I probably should have, but yeah, no, it was just all organic. And then that song really helped, like, after I released after that, like, my release radar, everything, like, on Spotify, Beatport, I think there were just more eyes on me in general after that, like, success, right? Like, relative success. And then I think things just started going better. I mean, honestly, that's all it was. Like, it wasn't, it was just kind of that moment that, like, helped, like, pull it up.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there is advice in here somewhere. What did you do when you realized you were getting that momentum? Were you like, oh shit, now I have to make something else that lives up to the expectations of this track? Or like what was your next step when you realized, okay, there's some real, like, momentum behind this?
Well, so for, like, writing for me, like, I sit down and I write, and whatever comes out comes out. But what my audience hears is more selective. I write a ton. Like, I write, like, I have tracks that are at, like, 122 and very slow, and they just don't come out. But I write what I write, and then to, like, capitalize on the Tobacco Docs thing, yeah, like, I knew, like, okay, my friend that played the guitar, his name's Cameron, amazing guitarist. Obviously, I'm going to work with him again because he fucking killed it on that song. So just kept working with him, and then just was like, okay, I liked this vibe, and I just kind of kept rolling with it. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a super calculated thing, but it just worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that big break I say in air quotes, but that's what everyone's kind of hoping for that one track to pop off.
Yeah.
So that it can, they can capitalize off of it. And I think you saying that, you write a lot, I think that's the key there. There is power in repetition, and, like, you can't just, try to perfect, because if you take all your energy trying to perfect one project, one song, whatever it is, and then it doesn't do well, you're crushed, right? You're like, well, why the fuck am I going to put all this effort into again?
Yeah.
You have to get the repetition, the reps in, you know, in order for something to happen.
Also, like, the success of a song is all in the idea. Like, there's so many great songs and great music that are, you know, produced not great or mixed badly or mastered poorly. It's great to have a good mix and all that, as I'm like a mix engineer. All that stuff matters, but the idea is the important part. So if you're spending hours and hours on a song, like you're saying, well, you're probably not working on the idea. You probably had the idea, it got put down, and then you're just like fiddling with the small things. So the reps, it's like going to the gym. It's like you just train your muscle, and the reps help like just get better ideas down, and also helps you like distinguish like, this is one of my better ideas, this isn't one of my better ideas.
Yeah, because you have something to compare it to.
Right. When you're just doing it all the time, like you just know, like you don't have that like producer hangover where you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, this isn't as cool as I thought it was.
Yeah, that's got to be like one of the worst feelings.
Yeah. I don't get it as much anymore, but it's also because I spend much less time like I said, like fiddling. Like right. I put something down, I'll pull it out of Ableton and I'll put it on my SoundCloud, and I won't listen to it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll just put it private, let it sit there, send it to some friends, get some feedback, and then I'll go back and I'll be like, okay, I have fresh ears.
Right.
Do I like this now?
Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah.
You could be staring at a screen forever.
Right.
Like it'll start to sound warped.
Yeah, your perception of it changes. Like you get, it's called like getting stuck in the loop.
Yeah.
Like you like start loving something that might not be great.
Yeah, right. I feel like how that applies to me is like my face has been in so many videos for the past 10 years, from like news reporter to, you know, now podcaster. And I used to, like, on the other side of things, like I used to look at videos of myself and cringe. And now it's like, I don't even fucking care, because I just put in so many reps. Like if there's one video where I feel like I look fat or like whatever, I'm like, whatever, it's out there, it's done.
Yeah.
So I don't have that attachment.
Yeah.
I think like artists like get so attached to things,
right,
and they obsess. And it's like, how are you ever going to move forward if you can't loosen your white knuckle grip?
100%. For example, to be a little bit vulnerable, track I put out yesterday, called Take It Downtown. I was telling my label team that it's not my favorite track. I was like, I can see it for what it is. Like I just don't feel like it's my best. And then it's got more editorials than any of my tracks ever have. So I'm like, but it's that like white knuckle, like it's the attachment to it. And I was just like, I know this is the right thing to like, you know, put it out. And sometimes that's just the right move. Yeah. And not being super attached to every single thing you do, because some of my favorite tracks I've ever put out, not flopped, but like...
Yeah, it didn't do as well as like...
I mean, American Spirit, like I thought that track for me, like my view of that track is on par with Tobacco Docs. Like, and I almost had those sort of expectations. And like, it's doing well, but it's not doing that well.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it catch the algorithm in the same way. But yeah, it's like that attachment to the song.
And you have to get over that. Like, if you want to succeed. I get that way with like, so I started like a house music history series just for fun, because like I really enjoy, you know, the history part of it. And sometimes like some of the videos I've done have exploded, and then the one I just recently put the most effort into, it's like doing nothing. I'm like, all right, I just got to get over it. I did spend like 4 hours on this thing, you know, putting it together, the script and editing, but like I had to get over it. So it's really important to not have that attachment.
I think it just comes down to being consistent in whatever you do, right? Like you do have those attachments to things you put effort into, but like if you're consistent, it's not you're just putting your body of work, whatever the creative like vehicle is, right? Like whatever it is, if it's podcasting or music, or you're putting your work out, it's not your determination, like how it does.
Yeah.
Right. So
let go of it.
Yeah. So it's just a consistency, right? Yeah. Like if you just do it over and over and over, your audience will basically tell you what they like.
Yeah.
And you can run with that, or you can just keep doing what you do, and they will like your stuff again and again and again, or maybe seldomly or like whatever.
Yeah, right.
And it doesn't like, I don't think it matters that much. Like, I don't think there's one thing like in anybody's like creative career that can like make or break, right? Like it's all about the consistency. It's all about like just developing like the sound or the brand or whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. The whole idea that you have to have something pop off, like that's too much pressure, because then you have to, I think I talked about this with Bijou, and I know like, that was one of your first, like, did I read that he was like your mentor, or like you really just got close with him when you started producing like Tech House in the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, basically like we just lived in the same place, and he had a residency at like this like bar, and then I was too young to go to the bar, but I could play.
Yeah.
So I just met him because I would play and then stand outside and
listen and through
yeah,
the door.
Yeah, I mean that's like what it was like when I was 18, 19 years old, like DJing, and he would hang out outside and we just became friends. And then like one day he just hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to come to the studio? And I was producing a little bit, but I was in Logic at the time. And he was like, if you switch to Ableton, I'll teach you. And then he just like taught me, and he was definitely my mentor. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a mentor now, but
yeah. You're like I don't know how much he's mentor. Well, he doesn't do drugs either, right?
He's completely sober.
Yeah,
he got no vices.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not cigarettes, not anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. So maybe he is still your mentor.
Yeah, it should be.
He's got to influence you a little bit.
I mean, he is one of my best friends. I still come to him for advice. Like he still definitely guides me.
You have to have that person.
Yeah.
In the industry, it can be a very lonely journey, and especially when like there's this illusion of like competition,
Yeah.
And like in any business where you're putting yourself out there, 'cause that's what you're doing as a DJ. Like, it's no different than acting, influencing, modeling. Like it's all you being the center of attention.
Right.
And that just really invites in like a lot of negative energy. And so it's good to have people like that you can lean on. And every artist I've had on this show has always talked about their support system through other artists. And like that's such an incredible thing.
Well, and there's just also a lot of like unknowns when you're doing this, right? When you first start touring and certain things, and you come into these situations. It's so good to have somebody to just go to and be like, hey, I know this has probably happened to you.
Yeah.
How do you handle this, or whatever. Like I can't imagine if I didn't have people to talk to about whatever it is, like bookings or just releasing music or certain things happening, because there's always it's bumpy.
Yeah,
it's always bumpy.
100%. And because this is a young genre, and just because like the older generation like doesn't necessarily respect the arts as much as I think like millennials and beyond do, it's not something that you can just go to anybody about. Like you can't go to your mom or dad, and maybe you can, but like you're not actually going to fully understand. Like I have a creative career, my brother does, and our parents are super supportive, but like they don't necessarily get how to help solve our problems.
No, my parents, same thing, very supportive, helped me a ton when I first started pursuing this. But no, I can't go to them for like actual advice. I'll tell them, I'll fill them in, and I think they understand it on like maybe a macro level,
right?
But when it comes to like situationally, but so you kind of have to have like a mentor or somebody else like in the space that helps.
So, and I know you're part of the kick and bass community. So like, what's your instructor, coach? Like, what's your like actual title?
Instructor, coach. Yeah.
So for artists who might not have, because they're brand new, like they might not have friends in the industry who have that experience, is something like a kick and bass community like a good avenue for them to go get that support? Yeah, absolutely. I had Bijou, Ben, and then I went to a school called Icon. Yeah, amazing.
I'm not the biggest fan of the curriculum, but at the time, I have friends that work there now, and I've heard it's better.
Yeah, was it just too like rigid, like not applicable to the real world?
Well, my experience was that I want to make underground house music, and the kids in my class, actually, I was very blessed. My class was great. Like, I loved everybody in my like immediate class, right? So like it's kind of like school. Like you travel with like a little pack from like period to period.
Cute.
And my class was amazing. Like I loved all of them. And the community aspect was great. And like being focused on production was great. But when I was there, a lot of the curriculum was about singing. And like, I'm not a singer. Yeah. I didn't go there to sing. And I went there to like improve, like I was already producing at an okay level.
Yeah.
And I went there to improve it.
Yeah.
And I felt like the focus of the school was like, they wanted, like, I don't want to like talk shit on Icon. Like, and like I said, I've heard it's great now, but when I was there, I felt like the goal was for them to produce a big pop producer. Yeah. Because a lot of what we were doing was like singing and like very pop oriented lessons and assignments, and like I was like, I mean, to be fair, I can, and I can do paid work like that, but like that's not my music,
right?
And I went there for me, and I didn't feel like I came out of there with like improving like what I was doing. I definitely learned.
Yeah, I think like, and I know you're not, trying to, like you said, talk shit about Icon, but this is what's so hard with creative curriculum in general, because there's so many different avenues you can take something. So it's really hard to standardize like lessons and like lesson material. You know, for
I agree.
For artists.
And I think that's why something like Kick and Bass is great. Like, okay, me and Weston, very different. I love him. We're very different artists, right? Yeah. Like he's a totally different genre than me. But I think that's why something like that is great, is because you're kind of more in a community, and it's more about the community, right? Like you can talk to people that are like doing the same music as you, and you have different perspectives, right? Like the way it works is like you have all these coaches that can give you feedback, and you can like request who you want to give feedback, right? So like naturally I get the more like minimal tracks or like more underground tracks. And I think that's great, because then it's like then geared towards you, and it's not like a standardized thing. They just put out content, and the members get to say like, is this for me or not?
Yeah.
And I also think it's great too, because maybe it lacks a little bit in structure, but like you said, like standardized, like they get to decide what they're learning.
Yeah.
Right? Like they just have a massive bank of education, and they can say, hey, I suck at XYZ mixing, whatever. And then there's 10 videos with different perspectives.
Yep.
And yeah, I think something like that is very valuable. I didn't have that at all.
What the one-on-one support or community support is, I think, just the way, like it's the future of education in general, because like anything like making music, marketing, like anything online, you have to be highly specialized in something now to make your mark. You can't just be good at everything. You can't go play open format, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then switch to minimal house. That's just, you're not going to get far.
Yeah.
And so like, I feel like, cause I've been reflecting a lot about my career. Like I was a news reporter, then I got out of it, worked in corporate marketing for someone else, then started my own business, because they wanted this, like these corporate marketing places wanted this generalist who was good at these 5 things. I'm like, well, that's not me. Like I'm really good at, brand strategy, storytelling, whatever. And that's like the way that the world is going now. And so when you try to fit art into a box, it just doesn't work. Yeah,
it's just not necessarily applicable to everyone.
Yeah.
Especially, I know, just going back to Icon, like a lot of the kids in my class were extremely talented and felt the same way, but they were on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, like very, very dubstep, or very, very like something else.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is also equally unapplicable to our projects.
Right. Yeah. That's why it's so hard to make something for everybody.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. The one-on-one thing I think is actually like invaluable. It's so valuable to like have just someone that's like understands at least the general area that you're at, as opposed to like you said, like just trying to fit, like put it in a box. It's just ridiculous.
And it's like, would you rather spend, a little bit of money to get advice that kind of applies, whatever? Like, if I had the choice, like if someone said there's 2 magic doors, this door is, they both get you to your dream, like whatever you want. Like in my case, my podcast, like being as big as I want it to be. This one will get you there, but it's like generalized, advice, but it's free. And this door, you have to pay $10,000, but we'll tell you exactly what you need to do to get you where you want. Right. I would open a credit card, whatever I had to do, like take it out of my, Roth, boom, like done. Like, so, but I feel like a lot of people don't have that mentality. And like, obviously, we're all dealing with different resources, but it's like, you're going to spend the same amount of money just over a longer period of time. And it's going to take you longer to where you need to go. So I think that one-on-one thing, like more people need to realize how valuable that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there is also, just to play devil's advocate, there's no one way to do it, right? Like my experience is different than Vinny's or Bijou's or whoever's. We all have very different paths. So whatever advice I give to someone doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. Yeah. But that being said, I do think that having advice or like guidance in your particular, like you said, specialization is like super important. Yeah. Yeah. And it's better to put the time, money, effort into that as opposed to like, there's books, there's like all these things. But being able to talk to someone that can relate to like your specific, it is super. Because
it cuts down the time that you have to explain to somebody or to whatever it is, like who you are. Yeah,
because even just genre to genre, things are so different. I have tons of friends that do the dubstep thing or bass house or whatever, just different genres. And their experience is so different than mine in terms of like the shows they want to take, the markets they want to play, the strategy of release, like how they market, everything. Like it's just so different, and it's still all, dance music.
Right.
But marketing, even just from house to bass house, is completely different. Like totally. Yeah, totally different game.
Yeah.
And the shows you play as well. Like there's just so many, type of venue. There's so many nuances to the whole thing. Having somebody in that lane that is specializing is so valuable.
Do you feel like you've had a more challenging path being a minimal house producer? Because the way social media is now is like everyone wants to see those, big moments, whether it's like the dubstep people who want to see the drops or like the James hype, like sweating on the decks, like, crawling all around them. Like that type of content is made for social media. So with your music being more of like a true journey, do you feel like you've faced challenges trying to promote yourself?
I mean, no, I don't really look at it as like a challenge. Because my audience inevitably doesn't like that or doesn't care about that, right? Yeah. Like the people that I appeal to or that my music appeals to, they're not looking for that. So like, I don't see it as a challenge. What I do see as a challenge is like, okay, what's the replacement, I guess? Like where does my content move that engages like that, but is not that? Mm-hmm. So I guess like on the content side, maybe, but no, just in general, like as an artist, I don't see it as a challenge. It's just who I am. Like, I'm not striving for that. Like, right. I don't want to be that.
Yeah. And you feel like you've found like your community of people who.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there.
That's what they want.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. I know there's a ton of potential for it because I see it in Europe.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, like most of the artists I like are just starting to get to the United States. So like it's just getting adopted, and it's been very good for me because, they're not larger than life artists. So I can actually form relationships with them and like play shows with them or
totally
work with them.
The charge. I mean, that's like, it is so good to be on like the cusp of something like that, when it's not oversaturated and you really feel like you can have that FaceTime with those artists and make those connections. I mean,
100%.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, it's great. I've been able to make a ton of relationships like in my lane. Just like I said, because they're not like larger than life people that are getting a million requests or whatever. Like even if they don't follow me, like my requests get seen. And, and I usually end up like opening conversations with people that I like, it big or small. Like I just go after music. So like I'll just talk to people that the music I like.
Right.
It's not a challenge. It's just a different like path.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like I said, I like to not think my career is social media driven in general. Like social, valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you do a good job at it.
I try. Yeah, I'm learning. But I like to, I want to lean on my music more.
Yeah.
Even if it takes longer.
Yeah, I mean, you just said the key part is like, it might take longer.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You gotta live the way you want to live. You
Yeah.
can't, do it for everybody else.
Right.
So, well, what do you have coming up the rest of this summer? You just finished out here in Chicago. What's next?
Yeah, Spy Bar last night, and then I'm in LA next weekend on Saturday. I'm playing, I think it's called Wurstküche, German, I think. I don't know, not a venue I'm super familiar with, but I've heard
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I've heard it's great, and they have really good production, so we were convinced. We like it. Doing that, and then I'm doing Mode in Miami right after that, and then I have Gold Rush coming up, and then a couple things that aren't locked yet, but
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you got to stop by.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I am so glad we got to do that interview in person. We've been talking about it for a couple months now, but man, you guys, I really need to get a studio for those in-person interviews, don't I? Yeah. It's going on the to-do list for 2025, so watch out for that. And you know what you guys should put on your to-do list for 2024? Getting a ticket to Chicago Music Nexus. Guys, if you want to learn directly from talented and accomplished producers like my guest, this is your chance to ask questions and even put music directly in their hands. This is the place to do it. Don't do it at a club. Do it at a business conference made for producers. Tickets are available at chicagomusicnexus.com. They're in the show notes. And for the next few weeks, we'll see how long I decide, I am offering a special discount code to you, my listeners. This is not going on social media. This is just for you, my listeners. The code is podcast, and it gets you $30 off your ticket. And remember, in addition to networking and panels, all your food and drinks are included. And yes, that means alcohol. And yes, that means good food, because I care about feeding my guests good food. Again, chicagomusicnexus.com. That link's in the show notes. I will see you guys in November. And as always, I will talk to you next week.